as Bob wondered, I may have a death wish to talk about things that the HP-41 designers got wrong. I'm often a HP-41 fanboy. I mean, I cheer it on more than most anything else. And if I pick something up, I'll pick up a DM-41 or the 41 itself. But we learn many things by looking at aspects of products or systems that maybe weren't the best choices. And while the HP-41 designers made an amazing string of great decisions among things such as separate file spaces after having looked at the TI-88 last year with one global program space, they didn't do that. How about compiling jumps, which was a fabulous idea? How about putting sound in the machine, which was a great idea? All sorts of wonderful things that they did. I want to point out a few areas that perfectly, in my opinion, perhaps were not the best choices, knowing full well I've got whatever number of years this is later, 40 plus, in view of hindsight, armchair quarterbacking, all that kind of stuff. Yes, 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 I know that. The question is, are these really things that were oops and not thought about or just not implemented? Let's take a look and see. So what did, in my opinion, the HP-41 designers get wrong? As I say, some of them might depend too whether there was enough room in the ROM to do it. But as Bill Gates once said, ROM, isn't that in Italy? Parody of the 640K being enough for anyone. First one, overlays. Overlays. Several misses in design here. The original overlay that shipped with the HP-41 is too thick. You couldn't put two of them on the machine for storage. They corrected that later with some of the application pack overlays made of a much thinner plastic. But if you wanted to carry two overlays, you had to have a flimsy one off and stuffed in the actual carry case. Somebody, I think, should have thought, oh, are they going to want to have more than one hanging around on the machine? They were also not reversible. That was one of the first things Richard or somebody may have actually said in the plant before it was actually sold.
That was me, because I was visiting the plant, and the engineer said, well, you're just in time because we just received these. You can be the first one to see it. And he showed it to me, and the first thing he says, why isn't it reversible? I didn't want to, I wasn't very kind, but it was just obvious to me.
And so he's saying that when he first saw the overlays in the plant in Corvallis, they said, hey, look, you're the first one to see this. And he looked at it and said, well, why isn't it reversible? And you come like, yeah. One of those facepalm moments where we should have thought of that. Or worse, if there was a manager there looking at the person who did it, it's like, you know, that kind of thing. So, yes, overlays. David.
I might be missing something, but wouldn't a reversible overlay require a completely symmetrical keyboard? Yeah.
As you point out, Jake himself attempted to fix that by creating some more or less kind of paper overlays, of which I bought some, which looked like that to an extent, right? It would be symmetrical. You'd have to cut out the space over where the enter key would flip over. But as you can see, right, it certainly was doable. Sylvain?
Okay, about the overlays, the thinner one was more easily breakable. It was fragile.
I totally agree.
The one was thicker, but it was more.
The original, grayish overlays like the one on the right is thicker. It's more durable. The thinner ones for some of the application packs, as I say, they're very flimsy. So maybe that figured into some of the thinking about it, but the reversible was just a oops. We should have thought about that. And there were other overlays in these colors. I don't think these were yours, Jake, but you had made different colors, as I recall, making the colors.
Dallas Development Systems.
All right, Dallas Development Systems, according to Brian. But you could get them in all sorts of nice colors to have the reversible overlays. So overlays, I think, great idea, right, with the user keyboard. We've got a user keyboard. We need a way to have functions put on it, but oops, right at the very end. Number 2, number of ports. Mark, I've already gone to number 2. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding, Mark. What you got?
Just out of interest, who uses the default HP-41 grey keyboard overlay in order to improve contrast?
Who uses the original gray keyboard overlay to improve key function contrast on their 41?
Overlay.
Interesting. This next one is more or less an easy one, right? The number of ports. I mean, I'll cut a bit of slack here. Obviously, there are 4 ports, and after having done all the digging into the TI-88 for last year with only 2 ports coming out after the 41, I mean, come on, TI, give me a break. But the issue, of course, is 4 ports do fill up fast, as we all learned. I mean, I had bought 2 or 3 single-density memory modules before I bought anything else, and then what do I do with them when I want to plug something else in? So while this can lead to problems, as I say, cutting a bit of slack, at least they did put 4 ports in the back, but somebody should have thought, well, how are all these users going to use all these great things that we're going to be developing for the HP-41, and had, I don't know if it's an extender in mind or something, but a whole lot of higher marks here than Texas Instruments gets a couple of years later going after the TI-88 with 2. Yeah, Dave?
Do we know how those ports are addressed logically? Is it possible that the software design and the address lines only allow for 4 ports?
Well, you can have more than that because you can have upper ROM. It's limited by the number of ROM pages more than anything, right? Currently addressable ROM pages.
A port extender.
And a port extender, flip them on or offline. All right, number 3, tones. Number 3, tones. Let's make sure here. Okay, I'll probably have to rewind this and try it again. But tones.
Put the microphone.
No, not that they should have been removed and not had the tones, but there should have been a way to have them more accurately reflect notes, musical notes. Sharp already had something out there like that. I mean, you got the little credit card thing, ding, 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 all that kind of stuff. Mark actually remedies it later with his Play Music ROM, which I'm going to ask you to do something in a minute with that. But they should have had a more accurate frequencies. For example, listen to the key change in this well-known jingle.
I don't hear anything.
Hold on.
Sleigh ride?
Jingle bell.
Sort of.
All right, you get the idea what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, we'll play that later.
Exposure limitation.
And you got obviously the duration, but if nothing else, please, how many verses did I put in there? We'll go on to the next one, just real quick. The frequency and having it reflect more notes is better. Mark has his developed ROM that will play frequency and duration, and it's in your machine. Do you have Jingle Bells happen to be in there, or Happy Birthday? Maybe we'll play that if I can get through my stuff and still have a couple of minutes. And that's playable on the DM41 as well as 41CL. Okay? And what's that?
Too many notes.
Too many notes. Too many notes. ROM subroutine calls. This is, to me, a bigger issue here. The HP began their plug-in ROM development for the 41 around January 1978. I found that out in a page in Volume 6 of the PPG's Journal. They said when they did it. And they began with the 4K Math Pack. That was their first one. Unfortunately, a problem occurs because of the label-oriented and only label-oriented HP-41 programming paradigm, where you've got to jump to a label. Global labels for ROMs, therefore, are usually the only, in fact, the only, entry point. So if a ROM program contains prompts or other setup information that you really want to avoid or bypass, there's often no way to call the solution routine in the ROM as a subroutine. For example, this deficiency means that running programs that was recognized fairly early are just worthless as subroutines. Here's the one for the polynomial root finder from the 41 Math Pack. If you want to really start over there with step 41, you can't do it on a basic vanilla HP-41 as designed in the factory without copying the thing into RAM and deleting all those initial steps. It's just not and even without the prompts, there's another potential problem, right? Because, as I say, take Texas Instruments, for example, please, right? The TI-5859 had plug-in modules years before the HP-41 was out, and they also designed those to be called by pressing second program 16, the 16th program file on the ROM, and then pressing one of the 10 user-defined labels at the top, right? Run program C, and it would jump to that and start running based on that label. TI users fairly quickly found that because the TI programming model allows labels and step absolute addresses, both, they could actually run this thing by using this approach. Second, program 16, subroutine 104, which would kick off at step 104 and potentially bypass prompts. There's no way to do that in the HP-41 paradigm. Now, I'm not arguing. Absolute addressing can be a royal pain, but need to at least have thought about that with the ROMs, which would have been, as I say, begun execution at step 104, right? So they had at least 2 years, okay, maybe 1 year, to think about how can we get around that since we're not allowing step absolute addresses to be called. So synthetic programming turns out to have been the fix for that. In the PPC ROM, you've got the XE program that allows you to do a recall B and get the jump point into a ROM at the step you want and jump straight into it. The PPC ROM also had go to indirect through a memory register to jump to a label so you could skip over that. This one, again, to me is a more fundamental oops. This was not a good thing, especially if you're going to write the ROM programs to have prompt. So just saying. Also, A-views. If you have the factory ROM that uses A-view to display something, and it'll stop program execution depending on flag settings, and you cannot avoid that in a ROM like that without setting, I think, synthetically flag 55, but I digress. All right, speaking of A-view, as I say, there should have been a way to do a view alpha but never stop. That was one of the fundamental things, I think, that Roger helped with in the PPC ROM, among 100 other things, so that you could show alpha without stopping no matter what the flag settings were. If flag 21 is set but no printers present, A-view stops program execution on the HP-41. Oops. And so the ROM routines were real bad at that, so the VA routine in the PPC ROM got around it. Valentin also pointed out that if you synthetically set flag 55 before doing one of these, A-view will not stop whether a printer is connected or not. Number 6, extended memory. Several issues again, all this is my opinion, right? Several issues with extended memory up here. If you've used the 41 for very long with extended memory, you know what a pain it can be. First of all, you can save programs there, but you really can't execute them without a whole lot of jumping through hoops or rewriting the programs or all sorts of other things. It's just a backup storage option for programs. It's not some sort of extended memory to run things in. Second, data registers in extended memory are only accessible using data files with SaveX and GetX, and that's a LIFO situation. Last in, first out. It's not an easy thing to use at all. So it gets pretty ugly. It gets pretty ugly to me. There are several issues. Some of these have been fixed, by the way, with one of Angel's modules he's developed, the XMEM Twin, which gives you individual access to 606 data registers that you access with regular functions called XStore and XRecall. If you want to store directly into memory 347, it's an XStore 347. You can write programs that use a size 000 and just use all the X memory to store your data if you want. So sure seems like to me the implementation of extended memory it's just ugly. I mean, I've got it on my machines. I never use it as the built-in. Copy a program to it, great, right? Memory clear, it's gone, and I couldn't run it when it was sitting there anyway. SaveX and GetX, okay. Decimal to octal, I know I'm getting closer to stepping on some toes. What on earth is that doing in there? Now granted, it was on the 65, it disappeared on the 67. This is 1979 we're talking about, and I did program assembly on the PDP-11 in octal after this came out, but that takes 2 whole positions on the byte table for decimal and octal. Okay.
Hey, everybody who's programmed in octal, raise your hand.
Hey, and this is us. I understand it. I was doing it too, but looking back, this could have been used better, perhaps.
So the HP engineers, they used octal internally.
All right.
Even though hexadecimal would have been more.
As Eric says, maybe this was internal. They were using octal at HP, so maybe they wanted to be able to use it on the 41s. Number 8, advance. That's on a machine that may never see a printer. Okay? All right, I'm just saying.
I used to put my programs in a little short routine. You mean to clear the paper out?
But if you don't have a printer, if you don't even own a printer, you've got a position in the HP-41 ROM table that has an advance instruction you'll never execute. So it just seems like,
That is marketing genius, that's how you advertise printers.
Yeah, okay. That might turn it into a plus rather than a negative to advertise, hey, there's a printer available for this thing. Other possibilities, consider, these are some things I would have said, all right, what could you have done if you had cut out a few instructions, or what maybe could have been shortened or taken away to add some things. Obviously, there's some things missing in the HP-41, and it was pretty easy to see that. All these great things jammed in, didn't leave room for a few other things. Consider the 1-byte labels. This is just looking at the byte table. Label 00 through label 14. I really, it's a nice and a limited memory system to have some labels that are 1 byte instead of 2 when it comes to go-tos and things like that. But, label maybe 0 through 10. Why go all the way to 14? I really think the reason for that is that finishes out the row of the byte table going all the way across. Maybe if you were going to have a row of 1-byte labels going all the way to the end to where it's F, made it a little easier than stopping in the middle. But okay, maybe we could have gotten by with 11 and had 3 other positions to have something written for and to be used. Armchair quarterback for real, right? So if you could have potentially left out some of these things, chopped out a few of these things, it might have been nice to have had some things statistically oriented here as a math teacher formerly. Permutations, combinations, and linear regressions that have been around for a long time, several years at least, that weren't baked into the HP-41 or something else, right? I've often wondered about a couple of other things. You got these spare locations on the byte table. In fact, in the HP Corvallis division column in volume 6, number 4, page 11, it merely said that a spare code has no meaning to the HP-41. I really wonder if that's because byte space had ROM space had run out, right? But isn't that nice? They're just called spares, and just a couple of spares thrown in there. So nothing is ever designed according to perfection other than the things I work on, right? I'm just saying these are simply a few areas that, to my opinion only, the HP-41 designers that did all these wonderful things, it's still by far my favorite machine, and the one I will pick up, didn't quite finish it the way it seems like maybe it could have been, right? A couple of things. Well, again, what's ever at 100%? But out of these hundreds of design choices they made, with so many of them being fabulous choices, I really think we should give them an A, just maybe not quite an A+. Okay? So I just wanted to point out everything can always be improved, and hindsight's a whole lot easier than looking out the front window. Sylvain.
I can add a couple of bad choices to this. The post.
The mechanical aspects, the posts. And by the way, that's right, whole meeting on that.
The flex.
The flex.
Inside.
On the back price table are some post repair kits that Scott Reynolds donated for the free prize. It's not a free item, it's on the prize table. If you've got some machines you want to repair, check those out. They're in white plastic. Do you have, Mark, your 41? Can you play something on it up here to demonstrate your ROM so that it sounds, I think it had Happy Birthday or, this is again a ROM he wrote in M code.
Long ago.
Long time ago, but.
No, I think we're just getting interference on. Are you getting tuned or are you getting? Oh.
Need some
That's
PMI
English,
protection on that.
not American.
That was much better up here, I could tell, than using the built-in tones. So that was, anyway. That is my presentation. Any questions? Dave, I couldn't even see.
Regarding the overlays.
The overlays.
I recall a vinyl folder where you could put the ROMs and the covers on one side. And overlays on the other. I don't remember if that came with the 41 or.
Yes, it did.
A module wallet or a module holder.
You got one with a 41 in the box, and then you could buy them afterward. That's where it came in pack of 2, I think.
But so that's a place where you can store your.
Yeah, you put your module and then you overlay inside. I can show you. I have a couple of them.
I've got it.
Okay. Jim?
One of the first times I saw a CNC machine, my friend was making HP-41 overlays out of aluminum. And, 2,000 sticks of aluminum, and he was cut cutting in 3D. And then now screen printing.
Thank you.
I'm waiting on the last question.
Was that for his own use, or were these for some industrial product? Interesting.
I have some of that, and I have also one made of steel that goes on top of it.
Of course.
All right. Thank you, everybody.